Oh, hi, everybody. This is Dear Mama Sal, and we're live on a Friday lunchtime, which means it's time for us to talk about coping with feelings. And today I will be talking about the feelings that we all may or may not have had around this past week as we mourn the loss of Queen Elizabeth II. The reason I wanted to do that was I thought there was some incredible moments of feeling the love. And I'm hoping that a lot of you will feel the same way. And you might not have seen it, but I'm hoping that you will have a moment to relive it with me. And if you're watching on the replay, please feel free to uh, just have your input and make sure that your voice is added to that of the people who come into the cast while I'm recording this. Hi there to Jody. Jody is my admin, as some of you know. And Dear Mama Sal is really a group of people who get together 3 times a week as we cope with life. The good, the bad, and the ugly, we deal with it all here. And that's really what it's all about. So before I start, I just wanted to let you know that Jeannie gave her apologies. She's actually at a memorial service of her own today, and so she won't be able to be here. So, but I do have a health update from her. So I'll be able to just give you that in a second. Our quotes today will be around Zenful living. And I say Zenful living because one of the things that has really helped me cope with everything that's going on in my life at the moment and everything that appears to be going on, um, in the world is the ability to be able to live in the present and not to look too far into the future or too far back, just to deal with what is. So, all the quotes today about being more Zen. And here we have the first one that says, "Do not be afraid to travel slowly, only be afraid to stand still." And it's a really important lesson for all of us to remember that, things happen, life gets in the way and messes up all your plans that you might have had. And from that perspective, it's a really, really good idea to remember that as long as you keep taking one step forward at a time, it's enough. I know you used to be able to do 15 or 20, in the same amount of time, but, just keep slowly moving forward. I wanted to acknowledge birthdays and special days. Yesterday was the day that Erin had her surgery. Now, I haven't heard back from her yet, but as soon as I do, I will update everybody. And also, Erin, if you happen to be well enough to listen to this, please know that we mourn the passing of your daddy some years ago today as well. And we're there with you, and we send you lots of love and huge hugs. And, well, not big hugs because that would be sore after your operation, but, gentle ones. We've got Charlotte's birthday coming up on the 23rd, and then on the 30th, we've got Andrea's birthday. So I love it when we can celebrate that. By the way, if you're a regular viewer, either obviously, in other words, you come into the chat or in the background, please let us know if you've got a birthday or a special anniversary coming up so that we can add it to our list. The next quote I have is, "When we sweep up fallen leaves in the garden," we sweep up fallen leaves in the garden, but we don't hate the trees for dropping them. Mind you, I have to say there have been some days when I have hated the trees for dropping them, uh, but that was before I had a leaf sucker, one of those things. And so, but it's like this is all part of life in the circle of life, right? That we have births and we have deaths and we have happy days and we have sad days. And if we can cope with them all equally, that means we have emotional intelligence, or I'd like to say that we're in a place of Zen, that we are able to just cope with what is rather than what we wish was going on, which so often I think about my past and how many times I genuinely wanted things to be different, and I was angry because they weren't different. And now I'm not in that place anymore. And I think it's really important. All right, so I felt the love this week. Did any of you feel it this week in any way? I felt it in lots of ways. I will talk more about my health stuff on Sunday when we get together. But I wanted to talk a little bit about what I witnessed. Hi, Gemma. Good to see you. Still somber mood here. Yes, most places are shut for the Queen's funeral. In happier news, your niece was born on Wednesday. Well, congratulations. And that's just what I was saying, wasn't it? We have sadness, and then it's amazing how often we also have great gladness about the same time. So congratulations. And what's your niece's name? And it's said that nothing ever goes away until it has taught us what we need to know. All right. And that's really important, that you learn lots of things every day. And, regardless of, I always say that whatever life is throwing at me, that is my next lesson to learn. All right. Or even if it's a repeated lesson, obviously I haven't passed that, particular level yet. So I need to keep playing with it and doing the right things until it doesn't come back again. That's how I look at life. So how many of you watched the hearse travel through London in the dark and make its way to Buckingham Palace? Maybe you saw updates, or rather, just bits on the news. By the way, Gemma's telling us that her niece's name is Sophie. Such a pretty name. One of the things I found really, and it's Jodie's saying that she watched. I definitely watched it as well. And one of the things, you have to look at the detail. That whenever you stunned at the little details that were done, to make sure that the British public could spend as much time as possible, grieving. And I looked at it and I went, to arrange for that hearse to go through into back to Buckingham Palace in the dark, but in a lighted hearse, so that wherever it went, people had a chance to see the coffin, even though it was night, and that they had arranged for it to be at night. That even though it had been arranged to be at night, it was done intentionally so that the roads wouldn't be too busy, right? It wouldn't cause too much of a scene. Typical of the Queen to think about that. But she wanted people to be able to see the coffin. So she had this hearse. By the way, Jaguar built it. She was always a big Jag fan. And Jaguar built it with lights so that people could see. Gemma's saying that she watched it 6 hours to queue up to see the Queen. I believe it is now over 5 miles long, and I will talk about that in a second because it's part of what I want to talk about. So the hearse was actually constructed by Wilcox Limousines in the UK, and the Jaguar hearse was finished in royal claret. That's that deep red, all right? The official colors of royal and state vehicles. It was built to Her Majesty's specification to allow the public an uninterrupted view of her coffin. I thought that was really incredible. That she had thought it through. You can imagine she's been working on this for the longest time. And I would say, I believe it was called Operation London Bridge. And, literally when she was in the failing stage, it was like the message was sent, London Bridge is falling. And then when she actually died, the message went out to those who needed to know, London Bridge is down. Absolutely. I don't know about you, but it was just so amazingly moving to me. And I felt all the love. I felt all the love of all the Brits who, in the dark, stopped their cars because they could see the host was coming, which was exactly what the Queen wanted. She wanted them to be able to see her. And I thought that was awesome. I think one of the things that I felt truly impressed with oh, interesting. Gemma's saying that it was called Operation Unicorn since she passed away in Scotland. Well, all the plans were made around London Bridge, I believe. The whole planning from the get-go was called Operation London Bridge. I could be wrong about that. So that's what I read. If it changed its name because she passed in Scotland, maybe that was for the Scottish bit. But the overall plan, I believe, Gemma, hey, what do I know? Now then, here we go. I just wanted to remind us, right? The true purpose of Zen is to see things as they are, to observe things as they are, and not to let it go as it goes. I mean, when I say let it go as it goes, you understand, life is unfolding as it should. And I think it's really important that we understand that. I love the fact that so many people stood around Buckingham Palace in the pouring rain. Very British. Okay, thank you, Jody. Jody is wonderful. She's our admin, and she checks things for me because she knows when I query things that I need clarification on it. You are a star, Jody. What can I say? Operation London Bridge is the funeral plan for Queen Elizabeth II. Yes, it was from the get-go. That's what it was called. The plan includes the announcements of her death and the period of official mourning and the details of her state funeral. Yeah, so this has been going on, I would think, probably for 20 years. I mean, I don't know about that. Jody, perhaps you can have a look for that. When did they start working on this? I would think it would have been started when she was quite a bit younger than she was at her death. I would think when she was in her 70s, they probably started this, or even earlier. Who knows? It'll be interesting to find that out. And I was really glad that Prince Andrew was allowed to mourn his mother along with the other siblings, that they didn't leave him out or make him take a second fiddle. He took his normal place in terms of the hierarchy, where he should be. And I thought that was really a good thing. Very important. We all make mistakes in life, and some mistakes are bigger than others. And sure, Andrew has made more than his fair share. But I would remind you that, he without sin, let him cast the first stone. So you look at it and you go, it is really important to know, wow, Jody is saying that they started her funeral arrangements in the 60s. She was coronated in crowned. Sorry, the coronation was in 53. So 7 years later, they started planning her funeral. I didn't know it was that long. Isn't that an amazing fact? No wonder it was so amazingly, I mean, from what I've seen so far anyway, just an amazing planning all around. In fact, it really made me look back at my own. Just hold on a second, because you know what I did. Totally messed up as usual. There we go. So, did you hear, and you probably did, that actually Prince Andrew has adopted the corgis? And I thought that was a really wonderful thing that they let him do that and be part of, and that he can continue to look after them. He must have been quite close to them that he arranged. I don't know how many corgis were left at the end, but I'm certain that they will give Prince Andrew a lot of comfort and joy, knowing that, that his mother was so close to them. How about this one? I thought this was an interesting quote. It said, "All know the way, but few actually walk it." In other words, that we all know that we're all dying, but very few of us actually accept it and live it on a daily basis and realize that every day that we get given is an absolute gift. And I wonder, Jody, what were your favorite moments that you felt the love? There were at least 4 corgis left when she died. Okay, so that also is really important. And I'm just happy for him. There are a few other things I'm going to be talking about him. So I am really in a space of great gratitude that they are doing the things they are. And again, another quote that says, "Nothing ever goes away until it has taught us what we need to know." How many of you have often wondered, why does this keep coming back to me? Maybe it's an issue of betrayal. Maybe it's an issue of something like that. And you keep going, why does this keep happening to me? And the answer is, it will keep happening until we accept it, until we accept that betrayal is part of our reality and that it will happen. And we need to learn who to trust, who are safe people. And the royal family was not without betrayal and a break of trust and all sorts of terrible stuff, right? I mean, it is being human. It's part of life. My favorite monk, as you all know, he also said, "Walk as if you are blessing the earth under your feet." All right. So, in other words, don't just rush from one place to another. Take your time to actually walk and understand your connection to the ground and be grateful. How many of you felt the love when you saw Harry and Meghan hold hands during such a solemn time, breaking all normal royal protocols? Jodie's saying that she watched as everybody waited in line to view the Queen in state. Seeing the emotion got to me, each in their own way. Seeing wheelchair-bound people waiting also touched me. Yes, because we have, you know what it's like to be physically challenged, and, it's really important. Interesting. Jodie's saying, seeing the crown on top of the casket made me cry. I love that particular crown. There's something understated about it, and yet it is such an amazing crown. But it isn't, huge in jewels. I mean, it's got a lot of jewel, but it was probably one of the most simple crowns. And I thought it was magnificent to have it there. How many of you did feel the love in all the obvious planning that had taken place? And I found this quote and I thought it's to be so apt for this moment. And it says, "She who knows that life flows feels no wear and tear and needs no mending or repair." Right? Just life is what it is, and we need to deal with it as best we can. And to me, the number of people it must have taken and the amount of time it must have taken for everybody to practice everything so that it ended up looking as easy as it did, up to this point anyway. Now, obviously, there have been a few glitches, and we will talk about that. But it is important to know that this didn't happen by accident. As we said, they started planning it back in the 60s. That is a long time ago. long time ago. Um, but the planning, I don't know why. I kept thinking, how many times did they rehearse that? How many times did they rehearse driving through London at that time of night, with a car? And how many practice runs did they do? I don't know. And yet, Eckhart Tolle said, life is not as serious as the mind makes it out to be. We awfulize and make the worst of so many things that we don't need to. I love the fact that people are not coming to cry at her coffin, they're coming to thank her. And I'm amazed and touched by how many you can tell seriously mean it. They said that people were prepared to wait 9 hours to see her. I believe that it's now as much as 24. I watched Sir David Beckham. He said he stood in line for 12 hours. So it didn't matter whether you were famous or not. You got to stand in line. And I thought that was really, everybody was treated equally. And I to me, it's just like, I loved what David Beckham said. He said he didn't so much go just for himself, but his grandparents were huge monarchists, and that they would have wanted to be there. And he said, I wanted to be here for them. Think about that. I wanted to be here for them. And how many of you saw Princess Kate curtsy to the coffin the way she would have curtsied to the Queen? I felt the love in that she didn't treat her any differently. In real life, every time she met her, she curtsied. And in death, she did the same. I thought that was very, very touching. And I don't know if any of you noticed that. It is said that silence is not empty. It is full of answers. And so I would remind you to feel the feelings, whatever they are, whether they're good, bad, or ugly. Feel the feelings, but also feel them and keep silent for long enough to get the answers that you need. Now, we're going to be talking about this more in a second, but how many of you noticed that King Charles and Prince Andrew were not in uniform when they first stood vigil, but Andrew and Prince Charles and Prince Andrew were not in military uniform, but Prince Edward and Princess Anne were. Now, I thought that was interesting, and I wondered whether Prince Charles chose not to be in full military uniform because Andrew wasn't allowed to be. And now the interesting thing is, how many of you have heard that today Charles decreed that both Harry and Andrew, even though they're not working royals anymore, are allowed to wear full military uniforms for the morning from this point onwards, I think. I know that that to me was very telling. And I just watched Prince Andrew in full military uniform start to the vigil. And by the way, if you didn't see it, it was an amazing thing to see. I can't imagine it happening in many countries. They literally had the king and his 3 siblings stand vigil at the coffin this morning. And the public was held back while they got into place. But as soon as they were in place, the public got to continue to walk past. Can you imagine you waited in line for 12 or 14 hours or whatever, and then you got to be almost within spitting distance of every major royal and the coffin of the Queen all at the same time for about as many people as walked through for 15 minutes. You understand there was no way they could know that was about to happen. and they got to walk past the coffin. Wow. I felt, and there weren't 1,001 security people standing by, or that you could see. There probably were. But, they're probably dressed as in other official uniforms, so we wouldn't notice them. But, I thought that was absolutely incredible. And can you imagine being one of those mourners and going, if I stretch it out far enough, I could almost touch all of the royal family. Wow. I felt the love in that. And I thought how important that was that happened, that it would have a meaningful effect on me, and and I imagine a very meaningful effect on all of the British public. The Buddha said, as a bee gathering nectar does not harm or disturb the color and the fragrance of the flower, so do the wise move through the world. And I've got to say, I felt the love of Prince Charles for his siblings when he said, it is really important that you do wear your uniforms. Both Prince Andrew and Prince Harry were not just working royals at one time, but remember, they both served active duty. Prince Andrew, I believe, served in the Falklands, but he was actually on very dangerous missions, and he had every right to wear his uniform. And Prince Harry, we know, went into frontline active duty in Afghanistan. So he deserved to be wearing his uniform as well. So I'm certain there's a big rush to get all the uniforms back, because neither of them would have expected to be allowed to do that. So they're probably rustling up the uniforms as we speak. How about this one? Happiness will never come to those who fail to appreciate what they already have. If you can appreciate what you have today, regardless of what it is, if you can appreciate it, then you will be a happy person. If you're constantly trying for something you haven't got, you will never be happy. Why? Because you'll always be chasing the next thing that you want. So, you look at it and you go, it has been an incredible experience in so many ways. And I just keep feeling this incredible love going on. And it is a love that it is difficult for me to describe. And I look at it and go, I'm so grateful to be part of history. I'm so grateful that I can say I watched so much of it, even though it required that I get up at ungodly hours of the day to do so. Sometimes in life we have to let go of our routines. By the way, there were moments of humor. Did any of you see any moments of humor so far? There was something about King Charles getting testy about that inkwell, or that tray that held the pens. That was just so human. It was like, and I don't know if any of you understand what happened, but he was signing those big declarations that he was king. And he signed the first one, and a stupid pen tray was in the way. So he got, he sort of told his sort of handler, as I call him that, get rid of it. And he was obviously very upset, because it was impossible to move the second declaration forward with that pen tray being where it was. So he was going, get rid of it, get rid of it. And the guy didn't react quite fast enough, and you could see he was really getting quite upset about it all. And then poor William came to to sign. And of course, the pen tray wasn't there, so they had to bring it back again. Just like, I don't know about the rest of you, but I found that quite amusing. And I just thought that was so human. And I'm certain that it wasn't a photo op that King Charles wanted. But, it was, I think we all knew that he wasn't a perfect person in any way. So, the fact that he had a little testy moment, to me I thought, I don't know why. I just thought it was so human. And, you can imagine he's done so well to handle the grief and the pomp and ceremony all at the same time. And look how far he's traveled. Look how far he's had to walk. Look how far everything that he's had to do on show. And he's had one day off. Wow. That's pretty impressive in my book. I thought it interesting as well that in Zen, we don't find answers, we lose the questions. One of the things is when you're truly living in the moment, you don't ask why. You don't need to, because it just is. It is what it is, and it's now. And all I have to deal with is now, because I don't know that I will see tomorrow any more than you do. Now, my big surprise of the week, and I've got to say this with lots of love, was that within the last 24 hours, one of my viewers wrote to me and asked, did I hear that the Queen died? And he was a Brit. And it's interesting because I realized that somewhere in his mind, he didn't think that the world was grieving with him. And that this was, I was watching television when they announced her passing. So, even though it was the time that it was, I want to tell you that, yes, and I actually burst out laughing in myself, because I went, did he really think we didn't know about it in Canada? Did he really think we haven't been watching her travel, all the way from Balmoral? That some of us have, been following this from the moment it started. And to me, I don't know, that was it was rather cute. What do you think? Hi, Jeannie. Jeannie's saying, I did mention it at the top of the broadcast, but Jeannie's saying she's been to Lucy's baptism. She's now age 3, and then a memorial service for John and Marion's mother. 2 more errands and they'll be home. Well, that's good to know. Thank you for letting us know. So we'll look forward to seeing you there. Now, it's been a week of all sorts of things. Do any of you have anything to add to what you've been watching or what you witnessed? Did you witness anything in your life this week that was an act of love? I have been surprised at the many acts of love that I have seen and felt this week. It's really surprising. For those of you who know Dougie, Dougie has been so attentive this week, hearing about what's going on health-wise, and wanted me to understand, how important it was for me to know that if I needed to go to doctor's appointments or whatever, that either he or Jess would be available to take me. And I just thought that was so amazing. And I do have an appointment on Tuesday, but I said, as it was just a consult, I didn't think I needed that's somebody to come with me. But I've found it interesting how much love there is in the world if you think about it. One of my neighbors came and knocked on my door and said, "I just wanted to give you a hug." I thought that was so sweet. How many of you get this Zen quote? Obstacles do not block your path. They are your path. I always say that life is like a race of hurdles, all right? And you run like mad, and then you face a hurdle, and you either jump over it and clear it, or you knock it down. And if you knock it down, you know you're not in the running to win. You've got to come back and redo another race to be able to win. And I think life is a lot like that, right? It's full of hurdles. And then you die. And somebody talked to me about dying this week, and I said, we're all dying. From the moment we're born, we're all dying. So this is, really important that we understand that. And how many of you can say that you radiate boundless love towards the entire world? I failed that one. I failed it this week, people, big time. I saw my first big spider this week. The nights are getting colder and they're going towards the warmth, and one ended up in my bathroom. Unfortunately, it had to try and learn swimming, but it didn't. So I'm afraid it is no more. So radiate boundless love towards the entire world. I failed at, but I'm doing pretty well. I don't know why, but this week also brought up a strange memory for me. And the memory was that at one point when here in Canada, I had the privilege of having the American consul to dinner. And he's, America's representative in this part of the world. And I I can't remember what I cooked for an entree, but I do remember making a special dessert. And what I did is I made a red, white, and blue dessert. And the way that I did it, I had blue pears in a sea of blended raspberries, so that they were like the Red Sea, if you like. And then cream, whipped cream, but they were all little bits of pipes on the edge, so that when you looked at it, it was this red, white, and blue dessert. And I remember the consul looking at me and going, "Where did you get blue pears?" And I'm reminded of it because you remember I was so shocked at this plant that originally had bright orange flowers. The new ones came up yellow. And the question was, why? And the answer was because they must have fed them with colored water, very strong colored water. And, I kept thinking back to that day when I managed to create this red, white, and blue dessert. And how many of you know that it's a funny thing, but when a pear is blue, you don't think it's going to taste the same. It's just like, it's like a little weird, right? And so I actually said to the consul, I said, "I do need you to know it's just going to taste like a regular pear." And if you don't believe it works, buy some canned peaches or pears or whatever, and just soak them in a different color food dye and see how they absorb. I took a white pear, like a Chinese pear, and I cored it, cut it in half, cored it, and so when it was there, it had cream as a top knot to it, but then the actual flesh was blue. And I don't know, have any of you started putting away your summer clothes yet? And mind you, if you're south of the equator, are you putting away your winter clothes yet? And the reason I say that is I was so grateful to have had a chance to wear my summer clothes. There was a time when I didn't think summer was coming this year, and it did, and I was very, very happy about it. But, it's now I'm very quietly putting things away again. It is said in the Zen world that to seek is to suffer, and to seek nothing is bliss. To seek nothing is bliss. Be a human being, not always a human doing. How many of you know that's difficult for me? How many of you know that feeling of achievement is a very big aphrodisiac for me? I love getting things going and doing them. And I've always had a problem finishing things. I don't mind admitting that. But I'm learning to love the fact that I can get them done slowly. I will talk more to this on Sunday, but one of the things I've noticed is that I've been putting far too much into my day. And so my days are full of guilt because I don't get everything finished, rather than full of joy because I actually lived in the moment. And so I've had to change the way that I do things, and I'm going to talk to that on Sunday, change the way that I do things so that I don't have this constant striving to finish everything. It's okay to just take one step, right? It is said that this is the real secret of life, to be completely engaged with what you are doing in the here and now. And instead of calling it work, realize it is play. I am doing things differently. In order to feel more love, I am doing things differently. I am savoring the moments rather than getting it done, getting it done, getting it done. I found out that I actually do some of my best thinking late at night. I know a couple of you relate to this, all right? I'm not a morning person, so my mind actually plans and does good things like that late at night. And I'm okay with that now. I am delighted to realize that I can multitask a lot of things that I didn't know I could before. The Buddha said, I gained nothing at all from supreme enlightenment. And for that very reason, it is called supreme enlightenment. When you can just not want and need and have to and all those things, it just is what it is, and it is now. It said that it's hard to restrain. Unstable is this mind. It lists. Good. It is to control your mind. A controlled mind brings happiness. And I would ask you, do you feel that you can control your mind? If so, you have emotional intelligence. If not, it is something that you are hopefully continuing to work on. Zen says that number one, focus on the task at hand. When you're doing something, just do that, not 10,000 other things at the same time. One of the reasons that I have not turned my television around so I can witness more of the what's going on in Westminster Hall is I want to concentrate on you, not on what's going on there. The second thing, be all in. All right. If you're going to do it, be all in. Give it 100%, maybe 110. The third thing that it said is to find rest. The fourth is to simplify your life. Oh, I am struggling with that, but I'm getting better. I continue the process, and some of you know that, in order to feel my own peace of mind. What I keep doing is I keep going to different parts of my house and my garden and going, just take a moment to sit and look. And I was busy watering the flowers the other day, and I decided just to sit and water the flowers for a while and just really water a couple of them, just while I enjoyed the flowers that were still blooming. And then the fifth thing that they say in Zen is to let go of that which does not serve you. Okay? You don't need as many things. I'm working hard to declutter my life and let go of things that no longer served me. But you know that, how many of you know that voice in your head that goes, yes, but you might need it in the next 10 years? And I read somewhere that one of the secrets to decluttering is feel free to throw away anything that costs less than $20 to replace. Now, that is a really interesting feeling, because I have wanted to have one of my old computers fired up so that I can use it in my craft room, and its only purpose would be to work on my crafting process. Does that make sense? And I've got two spares, they're old ones, that would do the job, but for some reason I cannot find the right connections for them. And then I thought, you know something? It's time to let go of trying to find that connect, the cables. I've been through about 30. What I need to do is just replace one. And so that you understand that that will make my life happy. And how much is it for a computer cable? Yep, under $20. So guess what? I can throw the rest away and just buy the one that I need. I don't know if any of you see the humor in that, and whether you relate to that at all. Our life is shaped by our mind. We become what we think about. And so I look at it and go, I felt the love this week when I could, oh, Jody, let me just go get it so you can see. Sorry about that. I will explain what happened. Jody was telling me that even though she has this crippling arthritis, that she had gone back to doing some crochet, and I agreed with her. And, you know, it was a good idea, especially with the winter months coming in. And one of the things I realized is I've got a couple of boxes of wool or acrylic in the shed, and when I was busy getting something out of the shed this week, I found the box and I grabbed some wool. So Jody, I've got this far, but I thought I'd show you that I'm edging it like this. I love this stitch. So hopefully the next time you see this, and by the way, if any of you are wondering what is it, it's going to be an infinity scarf. Okay, like this. So now let me get it so you can see the bubbly bit. That's what I want you to see. Where's the bubbly bit? Here it is. So, there you go. Yeah, I thought you would like the decorative edge, Jody. That's why I wanted to show you. But they're little, let me show you close up. But I thought it just made the difference. And so I am doing pretty well. Now, the reason I felt great love about it was, number one, the first night I started doing it, I got such spasms in my left hand that I literally was crying out in pain, because all my knuckles were screaming. And this thumb locked, and all sorts of terrible things happened, which goes to show I have not been using this hand enough, because the one night that I did it, I ended up in such pain. And then I said, okay, fine, it is what it is. What are you going to do about it? So I got some of that hot gel, the icy gel actually, and rubbed it into all my joints. And now before I start, I do that. I make sure that I've got my joints sort of almost frozen so that I can do it, and it's really helped. The other thing I got, can you see that blister? I know that's hard to believe, but that blister is from my nail, I think. Oh, wait a minute. Let me think about that. What actually is touching that? No, it's the wool. It's the wool going. No, it's the needle rests on there. Anyway, I caused a blister, Jody. So, it was just that I had to laugh. And each night that I did, I must remember I don't have to do a scarf a night. I just need to do a little, and eventually it'll end up something I can give to the homeless in the winter. So thank you, Jody. And I felt the love. Jody's saying that's serious crafter's wounds. Yeah. But I had fun doing it. And I now, I think you all know that I strive to do 6,000 steps a day to try and keep my body healthy. And, there's been a lot going on in my life. And so getting up to 6,000 steps has been a bit of a challenge. But again, I'm going, okay, now it's time for me to go and sit down. Let's rest, pedal to get to the 6,000, and crochet if I can. It is quite funny how all that multitasking ends up with all sorts of good rewards. The other thing I find is, when I don't know about you, Jody, but when I sit and crochet, it really opens up my mind. I'm amazed how many ideas come to my mind. So I now know that when I crochet, I need to have my day timer with me to take notes. Lao Tzu said, act without expectation. Isn't that interesting? Just don't expect a whole lot from life. I like this one. Be master of mind rather than mastered by mind. I want to tell you that one is my favorite quote because I lived so much of my life with my mind mastering me. You know, when I was doing guilt trips on myself, when I was never good enough, when all the things I can think of where my mind mastered me, the addictions that I had to cigarettes, and, all those sort of things. And, I look at it now and I go, I feel very different today. And I believe that the difference is that I'm at peace with myself at a whole different level. The Buddha said, each morning we are born again. What we do today is what matters most. Do any of you have problems focusing? What I find is that, today's social media is designed to stop you from focusing on the things you want to focus on. Have you noticed that? You cannot watch TikTok for 5 minutes, can you? You may go to Google to find out one bit of information, and after an hour you realize you've seen a whole lot of stuff and you haven't even asked the question that you wanted to, because the moment you signed on, you found something that you were interested in, and that led you to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing, and an hour went by and you still hadn't asked the question. I'm trying to be more mindful of that. I'm trying to be more mindful of keeping focus. Don't let that distract you. This is what you're here for. But it's so easy. And here are some very wise things to let go of. Number one, let go of comparing. Stop comparing yourself to other people, good or bad. Let go of competing. You don't need to beat anybody. Let go of judgments. Difficult one, that one. Let go of anger. I wonder what's going through your mind as I read these. How about let go of regrets? Let go of worrying. Not only for yourself, but Jody, for other people. Let go of worrying. It is what it is. Let go of blame. Let go of guilt. Let go of fear. And make sure you have a proper belly laugh at least once a day. Even if it's your inability to let go of all the things I've just said. Right? Keep your sense of humor. Don't let that go, regardless of what you're facing. Think about that. And one of my favorite quotes from the Dalai Lama was, do not let the behavior of others destroy your inner peace. So many of you have learned this now, that you are only responsible for your behavior, not somebody else's. And people will attack you, and they will betray you, and they will betray themselves. And, don't let that ruin your day. That is their business, not yours. So if we want peace in the world, we need to be more peaceful. And there is horror in the world, isn't there? And I feel deeply saddened by it. But there's nothing I can do about it. So I will repeat what I repeat so often, almost every broadcast. I smile, I breathe, and I go slowly. I have no need to rush anymore. when I am in the right space, when I am properly organized, when I am continuing to do my routines, I will be at peace. I will be at peace. I won't be frustrated with myself or others. I've always said, if you want to know how my mind is doing, how tidy is my house? And there was a time this week where my house was pretty untidy. And I just smiled and went, oh, well, we know why that is. I haven't been focusing in the moment. I haven't been saying to myself, you don't get to leave the bathroom until it looks like a 5-star hotel. That is your commitment to yourself. Makes sense. I've just been doing what I needed to do and getting out of there. I haven't been in that place where I could just control the rush. What I did was I went, so time to start again. And it really is amazing how it works. Just like, have I got the discipline to stay in my bathroom in the morning until I've tidied it up? And when I do that, every time I go in there, I smile because it looks so gorgeous. Instead of dreading maybe somebody will come to visit. And then the next room I work on is my bedroom. Does that look like a 5-star hotel? Or does it look like a teenager's bed? So, and then I love it because every Thursday, that my kitchen's going to look like a show home. Every Thursday, I know the counters are going to be clear because that's what I do on Thursdays before I broadcast. And you got to think about the humor of that. Would they be clear if it were not a Thursday? And the answer is most of the time, no, not so much. But to me, it's fascinating when you have that routine. I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful that you all love the kitchen and that you love to see it because it allows me. Oh, Jody, I have another present for you. Not a good one necessarily, not yet. Okay, so Jody, this is Tweedledee and Tweedledum. They're the tomato halves that I squished last week for you. Still no sign of life. That little one you see there isn't part of these. There is a little one growing. I don't know if you can see it right there. Right there. But it's not from these. It's from a previous batch. So I'm going to keep, so that's 1 week, no growth. Okay, well, not yet. Yeah, you will be amazed by next week how good it looks. And eventually you're going to see this. By the way, for those of you who like a bit of a laugh, the peppers I got a pepper plant that I nurtured, like, those ones are nearly up to the top there, but I keep cutting the tops off them because I want them to bush out a bit. But here is the thing. The ones I've got outside actually have baby peppers on them. It is so exciting. Well, you know who I am, right? So the first one is Dr. Pepper. The second one is Lemon Pepper. The third one is Sergeant Pepper. How many of you can? Yeah, I knew that would make Jody laugh. And so, and then the fourth one will be Salt and Pepper. I'm trying to think of other names. Can you think of any others? But I will be. Now, the thing is, I'm a bit worried about lemon pepper, because lemon pepper may need to be a bit later. The first one that turns yellow, we all know that all peppers will start green. And the longer that they're maturing, they will change color. Now, of course, I'm praying that that happens before the frost. It's sort of like a pretty big game. But I'm so excited to have got that far. To actually have got that far. And I will take some pictures so that you can see them as they grow each week. Everything happens for a reason. Don't question it. Trust it. I believe everything happens for the reason of teaching us something. And the ones that we dislike, the lessons we dislike are the ones that we most need to learn. Hi there, Kanzi. Hello from New Zealand. You enjoy the channel? Thank you. What do you enjoy about it, Kanzi? Jody's saying Peter Pepper. Yeah, lovely. Great one, Jody. Got to write that down. Pen. Why didn't I not think of Peter Pepper? Peter Pepper. Because I can't say it. All right, pen. Got everything except a pen. I got a crochet hook, no pen. All right, Jody, could you make a note of that, please? So, Kenzie, interesting. A nice, calm presence with words of wisdom and in an otherwise tumultuous world. I cannot think of a nicer thing to say. That is an incredibly beautiful thing to say. I'm going to copy it. Where am I going to post it? Jody, could you take a screenshot for me? Because I would love to. May I quote you on that, Kanzi? That is such a beautiful thing. Thanks, sweetie. Well, to me, I sometimes wonder who's lurking in the background. All right, because I can always see that I've got this many people in the room with me that I can see, but what about the people I can't see? And you're presumably one of them. What time is it in New Zealand? And North Island or South? You'll be pleased to know I know there are 2 bits to it. It's 8 o'clock in the morning you're listening to me. Isn't that wonderful? Do you know something, Kenzie? New Zealand is one of the places I have not been to Australia or New Zealand. And there's part of me that wonders whether I should do a trip. I would probably think about, should I do a trip around the world? Because I would like to actually go to Australia, and I'd love to go to New Zealand. And it's Saturday already over there. Right, exactly. And you're on the North Island. All right, so where did they do The Hobbit? On the South Island? Where did they film The Hobbit? I think it was on the South Island, but I could be wrong. I'm so often wrong. But I find it interesting when I talk to people from New Zealand. Oh, they filmed it all over. I didn't know that, Kenzie. I thought they just had one area that they filmed it in. The mountain stuff on the South Island, yes. Oh, interesting. See, I love it when people pop in and talk to us because I get to learn things I didn't know before. Helm's Deep was a quarry down the road from your house? Oh, well, how much fun was that? How much fun was that? And there was a hobbit village that you could see from the train on the way to the city. It's just like, that must have been such fun to be able to do that, to be able to see that. Look, they're hobbits. Did you wave? I hope. You know, I was thinking about the joy of, yeah, we love you for that, Kenzie. We like people who do things like that, right? Um, I was thinking about the love that I felt for my little, I call him mine, my little Spaniard, for going from number 20 at the beginning of the year, number 20 in tennis, to number one by September, and his earnings doubled, and it was just like, oh, I don't know, that gave me such joy, and I had such love for him. And how can you imagine the amount of mind control it takes to play good tennis? And what I love about watching that little guy is that he really fights for every shot. And you look at it very, very much like Rafa, Nadal. But it's like when you watch him, you know that he is just doing what he loves. He is a multimillionaire already. you know, and that's what I find so amazing. I heard today that Roger Federer actually has decided to retire. He could have retired 15 years ago without any problem for the rest of his life. Why do they carry on? I keep thinking about all the famous actors and actresses that are worth billions, definitely millions, but they keep doing what they love. And you've got to look at it and go, it's exciting when you're doing what you love. It's not work. It's not work. So I also have a few other things that came up for me this week that I thought you might be interested in. I just find that living each day now is really important to me, and living in a Zen-like way is really important. Zen does not explain anything, and Zen does not analyze anything. It merely points back directly to your mind so that we can wake up and become the Buddha. Uh, some of you know that I have written my own epitaph. I wrote it in my 20s. And what it says is, here lies Sal, who cared enough to share, shared enough to make a meaningful difference, and by so doing became a gentle giant inside. How many of you have your epitaph written so you know why you're alive? Does that make sense to you? I've known what I wanted to do all my life. I just wanted to care enough to share. I wanted to share enough to make a meaningful difference. And knowing that by so doing, I would become a gentle giant inside. So if you don't know what it is you want written about you, how can you live it? You see, what I love about having done that, it never mentioned how much money, it never mentioned how many friends, it never mentioned how many places would I would visit. It just said, here lies Sal, who cared enough to share, shared enough to make a meaningful difference, and by so doing became a gentle giant inside. Can you understand? Every night I can go to bed and ask myself, Sal, did you care enough to share anything today? Did you share enough to make a meaningful difference to somebody today? And if the answer to that is yes, then I have every reason to sleep peacefully. Even if I were to die in my sleep, I know I will have done what I started the day to do. The Buddha says that the greatest achievement is selflessness. And I know so many of my viewers are selfless. The greatest worth is self-mastery. And I know we're all working on that. The greatest quality is seeking to serve others. It's not all about you. The greatest precept is continual awareness, to know that you're learning every day and that every thought that goes through your mind has value. Good or bad, it has value, right? The greatest medicine is the emptiness of nothing. I love that. Not worrying about stuff, not getting bent out of shape. The greatest action is not conforming with the ways of the world. Keep thinking about Sir David Beckham standing in line and knowing that that was okay. The greatest magic is transmuting the passions. The greatest generosity is non-attachment. Give things away to people who might be able to use them. The greatest goodness is a peaceful mind, and the greatest patience is humility. The greatest effort is not to be concerned with results, but the greatest meditation is a mind that has let go. And the greatest wisdom is seeing through appearances. Now, you know that I am somebody who loves achievement. That is my sort of mojo juice. But I'm doing it for different reasons now. I'm doing it because the achievement brings me great pleasure. So when I sit looking at my garden, I just go, what would make it even prettier than it is right now? What one thing would make it prettier than it is now? And this week, as I was busy looking at my garden, I realized that a lot of my planters were different colors. And some of them had not, they'd faded. They originally were green and they were sort of very light sun bleached green. And I thought, I think I'm going to paint them. But I painted them with the stain I was staining my wooden ties with, a deep brown. And it was wonderful because once I did it, it was just like, I sat down again and I looked at it and I went, yeah, that looks a whole lot better. Now we'll let them survive the winter to see if the stain actually survives the winter. And then if it does, then I can go, what about the ones I haven't painted this year? The ones I'm going to paint next year, what if I paint them a different color? So now I need some input, right? Because I've got yellow cladding on my house and brown railway ties around the garden. And now some of my planters are brown as well. So would you paint the remaining planters yellow or, I've got some of those deep blue ceramic planters, the big ones. So would you add more blue? I think maybe that would balance it out, actually. So now my goal, somewhere between now and the spring, is to find some really nice looking blue paint that will do that. Any other suggestions? Right? What other colors? And feel free, if you're watching it on the replay, to add some ideas in there. I will give it all thought. I don't have to have the answer right now. Somebody said that I have the fearless attitude of a hero and the loving heart of a child. And talking about children, did I tell you I'm going to go down and visit Benji and Judy and the children at the end of the month? Actually, on the 26th, I'm going down. So how many of you know that two of the children I've never met in person? So it's going to be a very exciting trip for me. And, Benji and Judy know that it is, I'm not quite sure what's going to happen after my Tuesday meeting at the doctor, but, they know there is a possibility that if something needs to be scheduled in those days that I might not be able to make it. But I will also work hard not to have anything scheduled on those days so that I can make the trip. I haven't seen them for over 2 years, so maybe 3 now. It is said that a man is great not because he hasn't failed. A man is great because failure hasn't stopped him. The Confucius said that, all right? Man is great. So is a woman, by the way. A man is great because failure hasn't stopped him. And that could be a failure of anything, right? Jody, this was like, I know that every bit of arthritis in my hands, screamed the day after I did that first bit of crochet. But the good news was I now know to start by freezing my hands and then crocheting. And it was just like, I won't let this stop me. I want to do this. How about this one? It's a Zen proverb, and it says, one falling leaf is not just one leaf. It means the whole autumn. How many of you have noticed that the leaves are starting to fall? And that is why I started to put my summer clothes away slowly. Not all of them in one day. Just every time I do a wash, I go, do you want to put this back in the cupboard, or has it done its time for this year and time for it to go? I am so loving the fact that I'm switching over. And I realize that I have got 2 beautiful big closets in my bedroom with those barn doors. Always wanted those barn doors. And I'm thinking, maybe I can just put all the spring and summer clothes on one side and the winter clothes on the other. Maybe I don't have to keep packing and repacking every year. It makes sense. This next quote I really love, and I think some of you know that I'm learning this beautifully. Don't rush anything. When the time is right, it'll happen. Yeah. And I think we spend a lot of time saying, I need to do this, I need to do that. And the answer is not unless you want to. And if you want to, you will make time for it. Have you noticed? Doesn't matter how busy you are, if you want to do something, you will always make time for it. It was said that time doesn't change us, it just unfolds us. So when I thought about the children, I thought, well, I obviously haven't seen them in a while, so I need to take presents, even though they don't need presents. And Benji and Judy are always quick to remind me about that. But I said, no, I enjoy giving them presents and I enjoy watching them unwrap things. So therefore, this is a very selfish act on my part, but I'm going to be getting presents. So I wrote to Judy, as I do, and I went, okay, how old are they now? Because I keep forgetting, how old they are. What are their favorite colors? And what could I bring for them? Because I will be bringing stuff for them. What can I bring for them that would give them great joy? And, it was just amazing. Judith knows me so well. And she was just like, no problem at all. She wrote back to me and went, these are their favorite colors. And of course, 2 of them I have never met, so I really don't know. But it's interesting. I didn't hear one thing about princesses this year. That was really interesting. That they're not into princesses, or their number one need this visit is not anything to do with princesses. For the longest time, it was all Frozen, wasn't it? I like this. It said, work out your own salvation. Don't depend on others. All right. So when I thought about going down to visit the children, I also said to Judy, once we got the present thing sorted out, and by the way, those presents are already on their way to me so that I can take them down with me. But I then said to her, the next thing I'd like to know is what one thing would each of them like to do with me while I'm there? Because I know they have different needs and they have different things they like to do with me. And so therefore, I want to make sure that if I'm there for a couple of days, that I spend the time, one-on-one time with each of them. And Jody's saying they will love any gift from you, a gift from your heart. You spend time playing with them too, and that's priceless. Yes, that's just saying. And Kanzi's saying, what a cool question to ask for children. I want to tell you, Kanzi, if you could see us when I'm there, it is very selfish. During the time that the children are around, I am pathetic. I become one of them. And I want to know, what's your favorite game now? I want to see it. Yeah. And then when it's nighttime, I go and read to them. And then I get into big trouble from Juliana because, Juliana knows the rules and keeps to them. And so I read a story and then I go, okay, what's the next one? Because I will ask each one, which story do they like? And Juliana will go, Mama Sal, we're only allowed one story. And I keep saying, Juliana, you have to understand something. Those are the rules when DearMamaSal is not standing in front of you. On the rare occasions that I get a chance to read to you, I assure you that rule does not need to be kept. And if you want to check that out with your mommy, you go right ahead. Anyway, where was I? What book's next? And Kanzi's saying the best kind of relative is the one who will play and be silly and slightly foolish in the name of fun. I want to tell you something. I actually love it. They tried to teach me one game last time, and I just didn't get it. My old brain just wouldn't work it out. But I do love getting them to teach me things, right? So I want to know what's your favorite movie now? And if anybody thinks kids are stupid, have you noticed that kids can basically tell you the whole movie from start to finish? And they remember all the names of all the characters in the movie. It's like I'm going, really? Who is that? Oh no, that was the bird. Really? It had a name? Oh yeah, its name was so-and-so. Here's another great quote. It says, if you understand things are just as they are. If you do not understand, things are just as they are. So stop asking why. So I am really feeling the love of being there. And the greater love was that Benji said, hey, Sal, if you need me to come up and fetch you, I gladly will. How about that for an act of love? And I know he meant it, right? And you think about how busy he is and how busy they both are, not only with 5 children, but also with their business and everything, And it's just like, if you need me to come get you, I will gladly do so. And obviously, and take me home again. But I said to him, I think right now I'm good, and I would quite enjoy the drive. Thought this was a great quote. Once you feel you are avoided by someone, never disturb them again. Who do you know that has been avoiding you of late? In other words, they have chosen not to be friendly and keep in touch. It's a great experiment. It was one, I think you might have heard me say this, that Dougie did out of interest, bit of research. He read something like that and he said, I wonder what would happen if I didn't write to anybody again for at least a month. I wonder who would notice. Because he's very good at keeping touch. And he said what surprised him is how few people noticed. And that told him who his true friends were. I can remember that moment. I was like, Dougie, please tell me I contacted you. And he said, you were the first. I went, oh, good. It's really, I felt the love in that. But as I said, I felt the love that his one concern was, if you need to get to doctor's appointments or hospital appointments or anything, you don't have to worry about driving. And I said, isn't that what Uber's for? He said, you don't need Uber unless it's impossible. Chung Tzu said, to a mind that is still, the whole universe surrenders. Now, you understand, when I visit the children, my mind isn't still at all. But my child is so occupied. I spend, it's really funny. If you could see me, I spend quite a bit of time on the floor because that's where a lot of games happen, which is uncomfortable for me with arthritis and everything else. And the bigger problem is that once I'm done, getting up is a whole nother story. So they all laugh at me because they think I'm being funny, but getting back up from the floor is extremely difficult for me. And sometimes I even have to ask for help because I can't make it. But it is just wonderful to be able to have that time with them and be at their height sometimes. The Buddha said, he was powerful not because he dominated the scene, but because he was true. I thought King Charles's act of allowing both Henry and Andrew, Princess Andrew and Harry, to wear full military uniform was an act of great love to them. And that broke protocol. And I have a feeling that this is part of what King Charles is going to bring to the monarchy. He's going to be changing a lot of protocol. And I do believe that, I don't know about you, but to me, it was a great act of compassion and also of reality. They have every right to wear their uniforms. Those two, Andrew and Prince Harry, right, both served with great honor and therefore have every right to be wearing their uniforms publicly for events like this. The Buddha also said, nothing ever exists entirely alone. Everything is in relation to everything else. There are no coincidences. Please remember that. Kanzi is saying Princess Anne is the first woman to join the vigil of the princes. Another break in tradition and a positive act. Yes, I quite agree, and I think they should call it something else. Vigil of the children, maybe. All right, because that is something everybody has a chance. And I believe, is it also true, Kanzi, that the grandchildren are going to be doing the vigil tomorrow? And I don't think that has happened before. I think that's a first, where the grandchildren are going to stand with their backs to the coffin and keep guard. Yeah, I believe Charles has ordered that to happen. And I would say that in order for it not to be sexist, that they should just call it, the vigil of the children and then the vigil of the grandchildren. And did you know that, some people have just keeled over? One of the royals keeled over, Princess, can't remember. Anyway, and then, or no, not a princess, maybe. Anyway, and then one of the guards keeled over as well. And if you think about it, the emotion attached to that. And also, if you're one of the guards and you're standing there like this for, an hour, how many of you know some of them just fall asleep? So it's not unheard of. And how embarrassing would that be? My memory was that I keeled over it when I was standing vigil. Yeah, Kenzie's saying, I have the queue paying respects to the Queen streaming on my television all day. So do I. It's on right now. It's extraordinary. I've had it on. I want to tell you, I have not turned my television off since Her Majesty died. It was Lady Gabriella Windsor who fainted. Thank you, Jody. Yeah, it was just like, can you imagine? And apparently it was just when she was about to enter. Obviously the emotion just overwhelmed her. And it is said that if anything is worth doing, do it with your heart. I'm taking these moments to do two things. Just sit and look and enjoy whatever I have. And then that next bit, which is, what is the next fun, what's the next thing that will make it even prettier for you, that you will enjoy it even more? Not that I have to do it, just what is the next thing that you would be working on? And I'm amazed how many things I've got done just because I looked at it and I went, I would like to do that because it would bring me more joy. Not because I have to. It would bring me more joy. And so I ask you to look for the love in everything. See, when I painted my planters, I didn't have time to do that. I made the time to do that. But, each time I see them now, it brings me great joy. I love it. I love that feeling where, oh, that looks nice. Yeah. And now I'm busy thinking, because we're about to go into fall, I'm already thinking, right, because that's how I do things now. I'm starting to plan winter for my garden. What would make my garden pretty in the winter, when we don't have a lot of flowers or whatever. And I was thinking that, I might just decorate my bushes for Christmas. But I also ordered up some new lights with baby flowers on them. And I was thinking, I'm going to string those in my tree. And I've got a big red tree outside my house, right in the center. And I'm going to put those lights with little baby flowers on them through that tree, and then have that on a timer so that at night it'll light up all through the year. I thought that would look really pretty. How many of you believe this quote? Even death is not to be feared by one who has lived wisely. I have no fear of dying, by the way. I have fear of pain and not handling things well, but I don't have a fear of dying. You see, every day I know that I have lived a great life, right? Remember what I said. I know I've cared enough to share, and I've shared enough to make a meaningful difference. And therefore, I've had a great life because I have done my best. Not perfect in any way, but I've done my best, and I'm grateful for that. And here's some other ideas for you from the teachings, which is a happy day, right? A happy day, you get that by slowing down. You say thank you to people and things. You smile. You take a deep breath. You give somebody a compliment. You appreciate small things. You focus on awesomeness. And you notice 3 things you are grateful for. Now, not only did I order up the children's presents that I'm going to take them, but I'm also going to do a trip to a dollar store this week to pick up some other presents. And then the other thing that I was thinking I might well do is to take my cutting machine and my computer down with me so that while I am there, we can cut out some stuff for Halloween. I thought the children would enjoy that because I could show them different things and ask them, which ones they would like. And then we would be able to cut them. I would just take down lots of black paper and lots of orange paper and some white. And I thought that would be fun to make the decorations for Halloween for them. And I know it's a month away. No, it's not. Yeah, end of October, right? Hey, did you know that the clocks go back pretty soon? That's, it's like, where did the year go? Amazing. So, and mind you, I do all these things when I know I've only got, I've only got a couple of days with them. But I thought it would be really fun to be able to cut them out and let them weed out the little bits, so that they could be part of that. And so I might just take it all with me. It is said, Gene Clark said this. He said, Zen is not an art. It is not a religion. It's a realization. Yeah, Jody's saying that they will love that. I thought so as well. And also, it'll make a big mess. And kids love a big mess. And then mommy will know I'm having fun. But it also, what I also try and do, if that makes any sense, is that I try and involve the children in things because I know that will give Judy and Benji a little bit of a break because they know that they'll be entertained. And so will I. They don't have to entertain me because the children are entertaining me. And then, so I have these sort of moments where I go, okay, fine, we're going to play now. Or, okay, it's time to read. And I do that because it's like, and then I'll look at the adults and I'll go, okay, leave them with me. We're in a thing here. And I also know that it's really interesting that they have a much shorter attention span than I do. So it's important that what I do is I sort of do things together. But when I notice that their attention span is dropping, I don't take it personally. I let them go do whatever they want to do. But then I get their attention back again when I want to do something for them. That always is different. I've noticed that. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Churchill said that. Did you know that one moment can change a day, and one day can change your life, and one life can change the world? I really believe that. And if you don't believe it, I'm sad for you. I want the children to know that even though they don't see me, they are in my thoughts and prayers all the time. I am just so touched that I know that the children still hold me in their prayers every night. It's part of a litany of names, but I'm absolutely amazed how they remember all those names because I've heard them do that, and that it's not just for tonight because you can hear that it's part of their routine. And I just am stunned by that. It takes a wise man to learn from his mistakes, but it takes an even wiser man to learn from others. How many of you know I will have the joy of learning from the children? It always fascinates me what they know. I remember last time I was there, Juliana and I were watching National Geographic, and it was about whales. And it was so funny because Juliana, every time a whale came up, she knew all about it. She knew how many they were, basically. She knew where their feeding grounds were, it was just like, how does she know all of that? The Buddha said all wrongdoing arises because of the mind. And if the mind is transformed, can wrongdoing remain? Right? Think about that. All wrongdoing arises because of the mind. Remember what Dr. Jerry Jampolsky said, love is letting go of fear. And there are only two emotions in the world, love and fear. And if we let go of fear, then all we have left is love. But we know that fear is out there, and we know that there are, the good, the bad, and the ugly as part of life. But, live as much of your life as you can in love, and you will be a happier person. And I really do believe that. It is said that Zen is not some sort of excitement, but a concentration of our usual everyday routines. I remember listening to Stuart Wilde, I think his name was, and I somewhere in my life I had a whole set of his tapes. And one of the things that he talked about as part of his Zen training, literally, was that he went out every day and he had a garden with big rocks at not ones that he could lift, rocks at one end. And every morning he'd be up at 4:00 and he would move those rocks from one end of the garden to the other. Now you're going, why? Well, you see, it's a routine. He got up at 4:00 of the morning. And how many of you know that moving those rocks every morning was in fact exercise? But he didn't see it as exercise because his job was just to have the routine of getting up at 4:00 in the morning and moving the rocks. And you can probably imagine he did it slowly and with great love. And how many of you have seen the Zen gardens where they just rake the sand very slowly? The monks just rake the sand. Well, you see, it's all meditation time. The mind is incredibly powerful and creative when it's at rest. And so to stand and rake sand brings all sorts of ideas, creative and otherwise, to the front of your mind. Kenzie saying, I suspect one way of knowing you live your life in love and not fear is that you will have a massive list of names of people in your prayers. Funnily enough, I must admit, I don't do it that way, but it's an interesting point, yes. I just try to make sure that I send love to all those that need it. And some of those people that need it, Kanzi, are not people that have been necessarily very loving to me. And so I don't want to not include them. Does that make sense? I don't want to be conditional about that. And so when I do that prayer, I pray, yeah. That's a good point there. Kenzie's saying, but thinking of people is another way. Absolutely. I do believe that. And acting is better than thinking. When I say acting, um, it was so funny because I've had a lot of people tell me they love me but not act that way. And so I now believe the act much more than the words. And one of the things that Dougie said to me this week as he was about to leave the phone call was, "I love you, Mom." And I said, "Honey, you show me that all the time. So I know it to be true. Thank you." You see, I think the greater love is what we do, not what we say. And I want you to think about that. Who do you need to do something for this week? Right? If you only did something for one person this week, who would it be? And that's what I'm going to talk about a bit on Sunday, is how I'm changing my goal setting and things that I'm doing like that. And this is so true, this quote. It said, "When it hurts, observe. Life is trying to teach you something." I believe that every one of the royal family has shown us incredible emotional intelligence. Even though they must be grieving to a very large degree, they are needing to do it in front of the world. And they are showing incredible grace, even humor. They are showing great compassion and yet great pomp and ceremony. To juggle all those balls, they are teaching us a lot. They are showing us how the handing over from one leader to another should go, that we should pay due respect to the person leaving, and then we will celebrate the person who has taken over. And I think it's a lesson for a lot of us. How many of you know that the police and security people in the United Kingdom must be in red alert? They are about to have more kings, princes, and noblemen and people of great standing come into that country, probably more than has ever happened at one time. I'm pretty sure that's the reality. Can you imagine they are working 24/7 around the clock? But they've been working on it for a long time. It's not just suddenly. They've had this plan in place, as we heard today, right? They've been looking at this since the 60s. What are they going to do? How are they going to do it? They have been practicing it. They have been rehearsing it. The only thing is technology has changed. That's good in some ways and it's bad in some ways. But the truth is, can you imagine being, there's one person that's responsible for all of the security. And can you imagine that person probably isn't getting a lot of sleep at the moment? Why? It's on his watch or her watch that this is happening. And it needs to go right. And yet the one thing that that person needs more than anything else is rest, because they need their mind to give them warnings of what still needs to be done. And I found that when I sit and do not much, my mind gets very creative. And it's interesting, this quote says, "One can never find that which is only within by looking away." How many of you know that you've lost things in your life and you look and you look and you look and you can't find it? And then you hand it over. And when you hand it over to St. Anthony, it is St. Anthony, right? Uh, it's amazing. You'd be looking for something completely different and you found the thing you were trying to find anyway. I always love, it's why I hand it over much more quickly now. I don't waste a lot of time looking for things that are lost. I just go, okay, St. Anthony, it's all yours. Go for it. Just lead me in the right direction. And I just let it go because I know I lost something yesterday. And when I realized I'd lost it, I went, okay, um, there you go, St. Anthony. I've done a quick look, but I can't find it. But, could you lead me in the right direction? And I carry on with my day. And I'm not joking. I was in my craft room and I looked at something and I said, why is that there? While I'm here, I can do one thing. I can move that to the right place. And I lifted it, and guess what was underneath the thing I was looking for? And so I beg you all to look for the love, to trust everything is happening because it should, to know that we will not be perfect, and nor are we expected to be, and to understand that we can only do our best. But if we plan in a good way, as all these funeral arrangements have been doing for years, then there will still be mistakes, but you'll be ready for them because you will have asked a lot of what if this happens and what if it doesn't. You'll have all those things answered. And I think that is a very peaceful way to live. The Buddha said, if you knew what I know about the power of giving, you would not let a single meal pass without sharing it in some way. Tonight, when we do our coping with life on a budget, we will be looking at how can we make our food last longer and cost less. And part of the thing that I really realize now, and I've been working so hard on over the last few months, buy less and eat more of what you buy. I was horrified when I saw how much food I was throwing away every week. And that is my goal this year, is to throw away less, buy less, therefore throw away less, and eat what you buy. It is more economical, and it also makes sure that I am eating in a more sustained way. And I want to tell you the joy and the love I get every day now when I go outside and I pick my own tomatoes every day, or every other day I pick them. And I have got to the stage where I know that I can now grow them. And the question is, will the ones that are inside, which are those ones, no, they're not the other ones. No, not those. These, you can't see them because of the light. But I've got tomatoes growing there, quite high. And can I get them to flower? And if they flower, then we know what comes next is fruit. So that's my first goal, is can I get them to have flowers this year? Last year I couldn't get them to grow. I'm getting better. This year they're growing nicely. Now, can I keep them in that greenhouse window, and will they flower? And if they flower inside, I will be able to grow them all through the winter. How many of you know I'm very excited about that? So I hope you've enjoyed today's broadcast. I hope that it's brought you some peace. More than anything, I hope that you understand that seeing the love in the world is a lovely experience. There's so much anger and hate and nastiness, and we need to balance it more by appreciating more, by slowing down more. And as I said, on Sunday, I'm going to show you some of the ways that I've really making myself slow down so I can handle the stress better. That's awesome. Kanzi's saying thank you. I've been doing a little sorting while I've been listening to you, and it was lovely. And Jeannie says, thanks for this good broadcast. And Jody said, Kanzi, it was a pleasure to have you here today. It absolutely was, Kanzi. And please come back. And please remember to comment every now and then, just so that I can know that you're out there. I love having names to talk to. And I know you're out there because I can see it. But the thing is, I know I don't know half the names. Never mind half. I probably don't know the majority of them. Do I do this every Saturday? Yes. Kenzie, all you need to do is literally go to the Dear Mama Sal YouTube page. All right, just literally go to YouTube, type in Dear Mama Sal, and it'll show you exactly what days I broadcast. I keep that one graphic up all the time, and it'll say these are the broadcasts and the times. Now you're going to need to convert to your local times. I understand that. But I broadcast 3 times a week. Always at this time that you're watching is about coping with feelings. And then in about 7 hours, you'll be fast asleep. No, you won't. About 7 hours, I do the cooking one. And then on Sundays, that will be the difficult one for you because it's 3:30 my time, which will be horrific in yours. No, maybe you'll just be getting up. I don't know. Well, that is great to know. Just, I love it when I have people that come out of the woodwork and come talk to us. It is, yeah, it is just awesome. I don't know what time, Jody, what can we work that out? What time is 3:30 on Sunday in New Zealand? We'll work it out. You'll find out. And why are we doing your work for you, Kanzi? You can do it. You're smart. I know that. This is DearMamaSal saying thank you so much for being here. Where am I? I am in southern British Columbia, just almost on the border, almost touching the American border. So if you take the west side of Canada, go all the way down to the border, I'm just about there. I'm literally about 10 minutes from the border. So does that help you? And about just over an hour from Vancouver, British Columbia. If you watch the Olympics, you'll remember that. Yeah, twice. We broadcast twice on our Friday and then once on a Sunday. So, which will be twice on a Saturday your time and once on a Monday your time. By the way, Kenzie, what age group are you in? Yeah, I'm Pacific Standard Time. What age group are you in? 40s, yeah, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s? Why did I say 40s? You see, did you hear how my mind told me? Isn't that funny? I love this and there are no coincidences. Awesome. Well, we'll hope to see you soon. And the rest of you, thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the broadcast. I hope you can feel a little zen today, and I hope that it feels good. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, love you dearly. Jody, thank you for all your help. Jeannie, thank you for keeping us in the loop and being there to back up if necessary. And all the rest of you, thank you for being here. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, bye-bye for now. I'll see you tonight.